Hello everyone, Simo here, and we have the second part of building the SO.9000 Trident French interceptor. In this video I tackled the wings, engines and all the rest of the details to complete this interesting model. First though, I have to hide those joins between the fuselage segments. These gaps are evident because of the construction method. I think I've shown this sort of diagram before, but here are the three methods of joining segments. The first is a tab join, where V-shaped tabs are pasted to the inside of the adjoining segment. It leaves a slightly raised edge, but it's pretty good. The lower figure, the butt join, is the method used in this model. Unfortunately, the skins tend to sink down, revealing a wide gap between the segments. The third method, the free tab join, is, in my mind, the best because the join is pretty much invisible. But of course, it is what it is, and so I have to hide the join lines. Now, I could fill them, I suppose, but I think I might make a mess of it, so I'm just going to paint them with matching silver paint. So, onto the wing. Before I make the wing, I have to make the internal wing root box, which strengthens the wings and keeps them straight. This is nothing special, it just slides into the body. It's glued on top of two cork pieces, according to the diagram, but I can't be bothered carving a piece of cork to match, so I use a slice of 5mm foam board, which does the job nicely. The stubby wings are very simple. They have some panel lines which I emphasise with the small ballpoint tool. I have a large set of these tools. They range from tiny to about 18mm diameter. They are actually cake decorating tools. These little fairing pieces go around the wing root. Not absolutely necessary, but I usually stuff any voids with tissue. This helps to prevent damage and gives the items some form and strength. The wings go on nicely, but there are some horrible gaps between the wings and the fuselage. I cut some thin strips of spare silver paper to form into the wing root to hide the gaps. The tail surfaces are simple shapes, cut and folded. They are glued onto those 3 spikes at the rear. The spikes are really helpful in making sure that the tailplane is set at the right angle. Turbojet engines are made in the same manner as the fuselage, just 8 segments glued together. Each of the segment skins has a nice line of rivets along the edge, which I emphasise with my trusty toothed wheel. This is a dressmaker's tool, usually used to mark cloth. I need 2 of these, of course, so hey presto! Now this little fellow doesn't come with the aircraft, but you can download him for free from Stahlhardt Models. It's a great site with lots of different models to make. I'll leave a link in the description below. He was a little bit tall, so I had to carry out some surgery. I won't tell you what I did to him. Suffice to say, he will never walk again. I had the same gap problems between the wings and the engine pods, so it's time for some more filler strips. The main wheels were just built up tyres and a couple of tubes for the legs. It's really easy. The hubcaps, if that's what you like to call them, require shaping. You know, I think I might have made a mistake here. I pressed them into a convex shape, but looking at the diagram again, I think they're supposed to be concave. Oh well, never mind. Paperclip is bent into shape and forms the core of the leg and also the wheel axle. Once dry, the wheel is sanded into shape and painted. The landing gear doors are cut out and rounded to match the body. The nose wheel is a bit more complicated, lots of little fiddly bits to cut out. When it's dry, I place it in position and hold it with superglue. Right, that's the wheels done. There's a small sensor tube at the rear, so I use a small piece of paperclip. Same for the nose pitot tube. Okay, now the cockpit fairing and the canopy. The yellow fairing is made from one main piece and a couple of tiny pieces on the end. The fairing has several slots cut into it to better fold the piece into shape. I follow the instructions, but to tell you the truth, I'm not sure it's really necessary, because it could be rolled and shaped without cutting it. Because I had cut out the very small V-shapes, I pasted some tabs inside to hold it all together. Once it was dry, I cut off the excess and further shaped it with the ballpoint tool. It fits nicely, just needs to be finished off with those tiny end pieces. There were some gaps at the back which I filled with some Tamiya putty. I wanted to get rid of the cut lines, so I mixed up some yellow paint and gave it a couple of coats. Finally, I finished the fairing with some satin varnish. Now, there are a few ways to make the cockpit canopy. You can, of course, not cut the windows out at all, which might make my effort of making the pilot a bit pointless. You could also carve a mould and vacuum form an acetate sheet. That's quite a popular thing to do. You could also cut out small pieces of acetate sheet and glue them to the frame. I wouldn't recommend that. What I'm doing here is using Scotch tape to form the windows. It seemed the simplest method. So first I photocopied the windows section onto thin cartridge paper, and then I carefully cut out the windows from the frame. I then shade the inside of the frame with a pencil to make it look a little more natural. For this next bit, the worktop needs to be scrupulously cleaned so there's no glue or dust. I then lay a piece of 2-inch Scotch tape over the frame, and using a ballpoint tool I make sure the tape is properly adhered to it. Next, I place a second piece of tape on the back and emboss it down. After I cut out the frames, I glue them together with super glue. One advantage of using Scotch tape is that, unlike acetate sheet, the super glue won't fog the tape. The tape method doesn't make perfectly clear windows, but I'm happy enough with it. And on to the last part, the Matra air-to-air missile, which as you can see is a simple tube construction with some added fins. A quick final check. And so here we have it, ladies and gentlemen, the SNCASO SO.9000 Trident French interceptor from Answer. So my final thoughts on the model is that it was a pleasing build. Not very difficult, the diagrams were easy to follow. I would have preferred a different joining technique for the segments of the fuselage and engines, but that might have pushed up the difficulty level. All in all, a good model. If you got to the end with me, then you have my eternal thanks. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, then please like and subscribe to my channel. And with that, of course, I will see you all very soon. Bye bye.